We're going on a journey to Peoria, Illinois. But this isn't just about a city, it's about a place, one of the oldest continuously settled sites in the entire state. And believe me, its story is wild. We're talking ancient mounds, clashing empires, and yeah, a village that was literally burned to the ground. So how does that happen? How does a modern city grow from something so chaotic? You see, Peoria's origin story isn't some simple, straightforward tale of pioneers. No, it's a true saga filled with ancient cultures, clashing empires, and an incredible amount of resilience. To really get it, we've got to start at the very, very beginning. Okay, so when you look at old maps like these, you start to get a feel for the Illinois River Valley as European newcomers began charting it out. But here's the thing you absolutely have to remember. The story of this place, it doesn't start with lines on a map. Not even close. It starts thousands and thousands of years earlier. Right, so the first peoples. To really understand Peoria, you have to start here, with the people who called this land home long, long before anyone even dreamed of forts or cities. And when I say long before, I mean it. Archaeologists have found evidence that people have been living in this area for more than 12,000 years. Let that sink in. This isn't just old history we're talking about. This is ancient, deep history right in the heart of the American Midwest. And you can see this incredible evolution over millennia. You had sophisticated cultures like the Woodland and the Hopewell thriving here. But then came the Mississippian civilization, and they built one of the most advanced societies in all of North America. I mean, these people weren't just passing through. They were building complex societies, creating incredible art, and leaving behind these massive burial mounds you can still see today. So fast forward to the 1600s, right when the first Europeans start showing up. The area is home to the Illinois Confederacy. Now, this was a powerful alliance of related tribes. You had the Kaskaskia, the Cahokia, and yep, you guessed it, the Peoria. They were the ones living right there, near the shores of that big lake that, to this day, still has their name. This right here, this says it all. It's such a crucial point to grasp. The story of this place doesn't start with some discovery. No, it begins with the people who had lived on this land for generation after generation after generation. All right, so now we get to the next big chapter, the French. In the 1600s, everything starts to change. French explorers push their way down the great rivers of the continent, and they're driven by, a mix of everything. Faith, the hunt for riches and the fur trade, and of course the grand ambition of building an empire. So in 1673, you have these two guys, Father Jacques Marquette and the explorer Louis Jolliet. They paddle their canoes right down the Illinois River. They're the ones who create the very first European maps of this whole area. And their journey, well, it basically kicked the door wide open for everyone else who came after, all of them carrying these huge plans for a French empire right in the middle of North America. But that first attempt at a real settlement, it was a total disaster, a spectacular failure. This explorer, La Salle, he builds a fort in 1680 and names it Fort Crèvecœur, which literally means Fort Heartbreak. Talk about prophetic, right? The place was abandoned in months thanks to hardship and a mutiny. It wasn't until a decade later that La Salle's right-hand man, Henri de Tonty, comes back, and he succeeds where his boss failed, building a new fort called Fort St. Louis II. And this second fort, it actually stuck. A real village started to grow up around it. We're talking trading posts, a little chapel. They even had a windmill. This spot became the very first permanent European settlement in the entire region that we now call Illinois. Okay, so the next chapter is all about empires changing hands. Because as you can imagine, life on the frontier was anything but stable. And this little village on the Illinois River, it was about to get caught right in the middle of a global power struggle. I mean, check this out. The control of this region just changed hands with dizzying speed. First it's French, then after the French and Indian War, France has to give it up to Great Britain in 1763. But wait, there's more. During the American Revolution, this guy George Rogers Clark captures it for the brand new United States in 1778. Can you believe that? In just 15 years, 3 different flags flew over this tiny village. And right around the same chaotic time, the villagers, who are still very much French in their culture and language, they pick up and move their entire town about 1.5 miles downriver. And this new spot, which they called La Ville de Marquette, well, it was built on the exact piece of land that would one day become the heart of downtown Peoria. So you've got this fascinating situation. The people, the culture, the language, it's all still French. But the political reality, that had completely changed. They were now living in a territory of the United States, and this new nation had its own big ambitions about expanding west. And yeah, that uneasy coexistence, it wasn't going to last. The next big war between America and Britain, the War of 1812, was about to bring absolute devastation to this French village. This is maybe the single most dramatic and brutal turning point in Peoria's entire story. It's November 1812. An American militia force comes down on the settlement. Now, they wrongly suspected that the French villagers were helping Native American tribes who were allied with the British. And they didn't just raid the village. They burned the whole place to the ground. And then they took all the people, the inhabitants, as prisoners. And just like that, the French chapter of Peoria's history was over. It ended in smoke and flames. But as we're about to see, from those very ashes, a brand new settlement, a distinctly American one, was about to rise up. Which brings us to our final chapter, how a city was born from all this, rising from the ashes and getting a brand new name. The rebuilding process was actually pretty methodical. First, in 1813, American soldiers built a new fort, Fort Clark, right on top of the ruins of the old village. A few years later, in 1819, the first American pioneers start showing up to build their homes. The place just grew, and it grew fast. And then all the official steps started to fall into place. Peoria County gets formed in 1825, then it becomes an official town, and finally, a full-fledged city. So when it came time to pick a name for this new American town in 1825, what do you think they chose? Well, in this really amazing twist, they didn't name it after some general or a politician. Nope. They reached way, way back into the land's deepest history, and they chose the name Peoria. They did it to honor the very people who had lived there for centuries. Think about that. After all the conflict, all the transformation, after one culture was displaced and another was destroyed, the new city chose to carry the name of the people who were there first. It's an incredible way to bring this very complicated story full circle. So, when you put it all together, from the ancient mounds to the heartbreak of that first French fort, from a village burned to the ground to a city that rose right from the ashes, Peoria's history is just so much deeper and more powerful than most of us ever realize. In a way, it's like a small-scale version of the entire American story. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Every single town, every city has a story like this buried just beneath the surface. What forgotten chapters of ambition, conflict, and incredible rebirth are just waiting to be discovered right where you live?